Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for changing the date, or changing the time of doing our last video here. I've been teaching all day, so it's been a little bit crazy. Plus at 3 o'clock, didn't that alarm go off? So it's perhaps best we do it now. So I'm going to get straight onto it. I'm going to show you how to do the binding, or one way of doing the binding. There's lots of different ways. And then you can go ahead and do whatever you want to do. So I'm not going to do the whole thing, but I'll talk you through every single step. So then, of course, once I've finished it, again, I'll post and show you how it's done. So we've all cut our 2.5-inch strips. So I honestly can't remember how many strips you're supposed to cut because I don't have the pattern here with me. It's hidden upstairs somewhere. But you notice here, I've got my fabric and it's got this white piece here. This is the selvage. You see there, you can see that the information was put on it. I don't really want that on. And yeah, you can hide it into a seam, but I'm going to cut it off because don't want it. Okay, it's not going to make that much difference, so not a problem. So there it is, just done and gone. So the idea now, we've got all these strips and we need to sort of put them together. So you'd think, okay, I get my 2 pieces of fabric, stitch a seam and create like that. No, we don't do binding like that. What we do is we want to create a bit of an angle. So instead of it being like that, we want to sort of have it like that. It just hides the seam a little bit better. So how do we do it? The way I find it easier is I have my one piece in front of me on the machine ready, and then the next piece I have it so it's kicking out, goes like this, look, and it's kicking out to the left of the machine. So you see I've got one square on top of the other really, and then the idea is I'm going to stitch from here down here. So here we go, and I want to make sure that I'm actually on the point. So I've put my needle down, see? Needle straight down and in now. Just make sure again it's nice and square, and I can see the point at which I'm heading, and you see that in the way it's in the machine, I'm going to be sewing a straight line down towards myself. So if I make a start, just a little bit of a back stitch to hold that in place. You don't want to be pulling it, just let it do its thing. Back stitch, and then I'm going to cut off the thread, and there you see we've got this stitch. So if I turn it this way, you can see, look, it's got that 45-degree line there. So I'm going to trim off this bit here, okay, quite close to the seam, so it's sort of done and sorted. Okay, so the next thing I'm doing, I'm going to do all of those, of course, so I've got the whole of the bound sort of piece put together and stitched, and then I'm going to press it. And if I just move away my quilt there, and I've got my little pressing station, here we go. So what I'm going to do is, and everybody's different with this, sometimes you want to press it away from you, and sometimes you're going to do it to the front. I find doing it to the front so I can see it is a lot better. So if I just bring my iron in, and what I'm going to do is press it in, and you see that sort of seam is almost disappeared, hasn't it? It's almost gone. So a couple of ways of doing it, and I've thought about this and how to get you to sort of create this the best way. And so what I'm going to do is show you a little bit of it. I'm going to fold, let's just move the iron to the left of it. Do you want to, shall we swap places, John? Because we've been left-handed, that might be a bit easier. Here we go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my piece and I'm going to fold it in half. Okay, and then I'm going to come down. I have got a bit of steam on my iron here because I want a nice clean press. See there? I'll just do a little bit more so you can see it. And then of course when you come to the seam, there it is. See, that's the seam there. So it's almost disappeared, hasn't it? There you are, look. Fold it in and along. Because if you've got any questions, please ask, because although I can't see them, John can. So hopefully he'll relay them. There you go. Now, some binding, you can just do that and stitch it on. But again, say I've thought about this, and what's the best thing for doing this for a beginner, I think, certainly when you put it onto the quilt. I'm going to open it out. You see I've got that crease down the middle there. I'm going to fold that in to that crease line there, okay? Just watch your fingers here because, as you know, I've got my steam iron out. And what I'm going to do is press that towards that seam there. Okay, so you do that all the way along, all your binding, and you'd come back, and then I'm going to fold this one over to meet that one, so into where I've put that first crease. I know it seems like a bit of a faff, but actually it's quite therapeutic to do. It really is, I know. And not all of us have got a bias binding machine, have we? So it's got to be done by hand. So you see, you've got this. And then, it's a bit warm there, fold it in half and just give it one more press. So we're putting that seam back in, you see? Like so. So I've got my binding, I've got it open, and I've got those two seams there, you see? So when I've got that, you see, I've actually done more than I need here. So I've actually, there we go, look, I've got all my binding ready to go. So over to the machine, and let's make a start with it. So first of all, last week we stitched, or we quilted the pieces together, and you'll see here that I've actually cut, if I just move that out of the way, I've cut my seam, or my edges, so they're all nice and square. And you can check this, so before you put your binding on, check it, put something on, maybe a right angle, maybe one of your squares, and just check that that is a right angle, because you don't want it sort of bowing in and creating an odd shape, because once you put your binding on, it's going to stay like that forever. I've still got my clips in. I don't need them in particularly, but they're in there, so that's fine. And you can see there, look at the back. I've actually got stitched.
You can hand stitch onto the quilt.
Of course you can. Absolutely, of course you can. It's entirely up to you. If you would rather do that, that's absolutely fine. You see, I've just spotted a little bit of thing in there that needs to cut. I'm just going to take that bit off. You see, it sort of fell in there with a bit of a piece. I'm glad I spotted that, look. Just going to trim it there. So we want them all so they're the same size all the way around. But yeah, if you want to actually hand stitch, you can do this. For the binding, again, you can hand stitch, but I advise stitching it on the machine first, and then we're going to hand stitch the back. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. So over to my machine, I'm going to bring this over with me. And again, there are loads of videos, so don't just take my word for it that this is the exact way that you've got to do it. So what I'm going to do now, let's move that piece out of the way. I'm going to open it up. And what I want to do, I'm going to use this line as a guideline to help me put it on. We'd never start right in the corner. We're going to start further down. So, no set position, but definitely further down. Here we go. Because I want to show you how to do a corner. So I'm going to move down a little bit more. And under it goes. Okay, so that's the front of my quilt. And here's my binding. So you see it's got a little bit of a funny edge there. Let's just straighten it off. A pair of scissors. There we go. Don't need that bit. So I'm going to open it out, and you see this bit here, I'm going to open it all the way, and I'm going to line that up with the edge of my quilt, you see? So if you feel, but I always find it a little bit better to come on in and put that in that way. So I'm going to again put that down. It's a little bit further in than that. Actually, let's do what I said I was going to do. Let's change my needle a bit. So there we go. Look, it's on that line there. Let's go in a bit further. Okay.
Is that the centre line?
Now this, one second, it's not the centre line. If I open it up, look, it's this first fold here. The centre line is there. And you see that bit's folded? So that's my centre line. This is the bit that I'm opening out, look. So if I look at it like that, it's this bit that I'm opening out. So I'm working on that line there. Okay? And you'll notice as well, I've left a little bit of fabric spare. So I'm not starting right on the very edge of the fabric, you see? I've come in a bit. I've come in about an inch. Maybe I could do a bit more. So you can see. See, I've got like a bit of a tail hanging there at the back that I've not stitched on. Okay, so here we go then. I'm going to make a start, and again, you don't need to put a back stitch in there because you're going to come all the way around anyway. But what you want to make sure you've got plenty sort of give in your bias binding there. I say bias binding, it's not bias. I didn't cut it on the bias, but it's binding. So you might want to slow your machine down a bit because you've got all this bulk to deal with. And in we go. That's a bit slow. There you go. So you see I'm following the line. I'll do this little bit and then I'll show you exactly how that's been stitched. You see, so following that line along, I stop it now. Should be enough at the back. You see there, look? You see where that's that pressed increase? So there's my centre and there's my line that I've sewn on. So I'm more or less on it, okay? So again, making sure I've got plenty give, to ensure that the quilt's nice and flat there. See, I don't want that bit done, so I can trim that bit off. It does fray a little bit, you know, especially if you've had it sitting there just for a little bit. So I'm not pulling it, I'm not trying to stretch it, I'm just lining it up, and then off we go again. So you can go as slow or as fast as you like with this, or you can go and do it your own way if you want.
Did you start on the front?
I am on the front, yes. I am on the front. So it's going to give me a nice neat edge. So let me just stop that a second. So there you go. So you can see, look, if you have a look a bit further down, look, there's the front of my quilt. So I'm right side to right side stitching down it. There you go. Okay. Now I've not got that pin anywhere near, so it's absolutely fine. And it's not going to affect my needle. I don't know if you've noticed, actually, it's a different sewing machine than last week. I've got my own back. I love Leslie's and I love her for lending me hers, but you know, you do get used to your own machine, don't you? So I really wanted to show you the corner, and this is the important little bit of this, because this is where we all get a little bit scared. Even me, because I think, oh my goodness, how is this going to work? So here we go. See, I've got it going all the way up to the edge. I'm not going to sew all the way to the edge though. I'm going to keep it going, and then I'm imagining, so you know this size here now. So what I want to do, I'm just going to stop it in a minute. I want to leave this amount of space between this and the end of the fabric. So I'm going to sort of end it about there, would you say, looking at it? So there's the end of my fabric, look. I'm going to stop stitching about there. All right, so here we go. Okay, so I'll put a little back stitch in it. So what I'm going to do is lift my needle out. So I've cut my thread. So you see there, look, there's the edge of the fabric. You see, there's the edge of my sewing. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to fold this so it's going to form a mitre corner. You see, like that? Let's just flatten that up there. So it's level again on this side, but it's got a bit of a corner there, you see? So there's the end of my stitching. So if I fold it round, there you go. I know it's a little bit fiddly for you to see. There it is, okay? So you see I've actually got this, sort of this bit, I'm not going to stitch, you see? So I'm just going to put a little clip in there. So I've got it. Now if I turn it round, I'm not going to stitch this bit here, okay? That's going to be left loose. I'm going to put my first stitch down here so I can feel where that fabric is. And again, I'll do a couple of stitches and then I'll take it off so you can see what I've done. Okay, so there we go. I'm just going to do a little bit more, then I'll go back so you can see it. Okay. So there we go. Let's have a look at this now. Can we see that there? Do I need to do a bit more, John? You see what's happened? Oh, I need to make sure. Oh, see, I've just gone a little stitch too far there. That's okay. Couldn't just unpick that a little bit. There you go. And then what I'm going to do eventually is, you see that's forming a bit of a seam there. When it gets folded over, which I can't quite show you under the machine, you're going to get a nice sort of neat edge. Okay, I'll come back to that in a minute. I'm just going to do a little bit more of this, and then I can work it round a bit. There we go. So you'd go all the way around doing this, and when you get to the next corner, you would do the same. I'm just going to do a back stitch and stop it there. Okay, take that out. So you go all the way around. Now, when you get back to this bit here, let's bring a little bit of the end of my... I've done a little bit more than we needed. There we go. So what I would do with this is I'd be coming up. There we go. So that would be open, like so. Yeah. And then as I come to this, what I could do, see that'd be flat like that, is I could put a little fold in that. You see, like that. And then this one, I would just stitch it over the top. You see, like that. And then when I turn it over, it makes sense when it's stitched. You see, you've got a neat edge. Okay? So coming to, I just move that out of the way just for a little bit. Coming to then doing the back. So once you've got it all stitched on and it's all going around, so see, this is the front work. This is my quilt. So there's the middle. And this is why I wanted to do it this way. Mess it up there. Is I would turn it over. And you see where you've got this bit? Turn it over. And then this bit would fold over the back there. And you see it's just meeting that seam. So there it is. Look, there's my raw edge. There's my fold. And I'd fold that over like so. And then what I would do is clip it in place. And I'd do that all down at least one side of the quilt. So I've got something that I can work within. Okay? That makes sense there. You've got that going. So when you get to this bit here, you see you've got a bit of an amount of fabric that you don't want. I would probably, see I've took my binding out the way, as I would trim that. Okay, so, come across and I'd trim that corner away because I don't want it. It's too much bulk. And then folding this over, you see that one would go. I've caught, what have I done? I've caught that in there. I'm so sorry, everybody. It's been a long day. You can see what we're doing. Even if I have to stitch that again in a little bit. That's why these scissors are so good. There you go. That's it. So you see here, like I've got that kind of fold. So this would go over this way, and this bit, there we go, would form. You might have to sort of manoeuvre it a little bit. It helps if it was stitched, see. And there you've got, there you go, I'll do a quick, sorry my fingers are in the way. If I just put a little clip on there, so you see where you've got, you want to make sure that that bit joins there, and you've got that lovely sort of little mitered corner going on. Okay, I could have done that better. I do apologise, but there you go. You've got the idea. Okay, just means that you've got to make sure that corner's in place. So stitching it, and again, I'm bringing a bit of thread in, the same thread that I've used to actually stitch the quilt. A little knot on the end. And then from the back, the idea is what I'm going to do is I'm going to slip it underneath, just a little way, you see? So my knot's sort of hidden inside there. And then bring a little bit of a stitch on that seam I've just done. And then come into this bit. A little bit of a stitch, see, so I'm going right into the fold there, just a little stitch, pull it out, and then another little stitch on there. See, I can move that clip now. Here we go. And then another little one on that side, just getting into that fold there. And then another one into there. And then into here. You see how that works? So from one side to the other. And what it's going to do is it's going to join that bit of binding to the back there. It's going to hide that machine stitching that you've done for the front. And that bit, because you're hand stitching it, you're not going to see the stitching there, okay? Once you've done, a couple of little stitches to fasten it off, and then that's it, snip it off. So there's your front, you can't see the seam, and there's your back, can't see the seam. So a little bit short and sweet there. This honestly does work, just make sure you don't stitch that one into that one like I did. But other than that, it's then done, bit of pressing, and your binding's on. So good luck with it. I hope you've enjoyed it. I'm going to give us a couple of weeks off now and just to give you a chance to finish this. And then maybe we'll have a look at the next one. So thanks for watching. Thanks for staying with me. And thanks for your support with this first quilt. And I do hope that you've enjoyed it as much as I do. So with all that done and said, have a good evening, everybody. And take care. And I'll see you soon. Okay. Bye.
I didn't touch anything this time.